Hello. Hi, this is Morgana, and I got an email just a few minutes ago that I thought was so interesting that I wanted to answer it on video. I'm not even sure if we were live a second ago, so I'm going to say hello again. And I am responding to an email that just came in that, here we go. Uh, it's kind of too long and too big for me to uh, write about it. I think it's a great question. So I'm going to read to you the email that came in and I'm going to give you my response. So uh, the writer says, Hi Morgana, I would love it if you cover how to morally square a capitalist system which is based on hierarchy and some people having more than enough while others have nothing, two sides of the same coin, with creating a new system of enough for everybody. The writer says, I have an abundant flow in my own life, but it's not about me. It's about the highest good for all. I get it. She continues, I've never gotten a satisfactory answer to this question from any change makers. When I asked Lisa Schrader, her answer was that there's more money to give to charities when you're wealthy. Well, obviously, charities are not cutting it and barely make a dent in the problems of our society. Stephen Deenan's answer barely made it. Oh, Stephen Deenan's answer was that I was obviously blocked even though he knew nothing about me. Like I said, my own life is full of abundant flow, but it's not about me. I hear you, sister. I don't find either of those answers satisfactory. I don't know either of those people. I'm not casting any shade on them, but I agree with you. Writer continues to say, I don't think money is evil. I know it's neutral and can be used for good or evil. I do believe that capitalism is inherently problematical because it's based on hierarchy and some having more than they could ever use in 100 lifetimes while others live in impoverished misery. So when we propagate and perpetuate capitalism, we are supporting an immoral system. I believe, she writes, the people who grow our food, for instance, should be making as much money or more than the Wall Street gamblers, politicians, lawyers, farmers, gardeners, lawyers, and just about anyone. I disagree about the lawyers. I was raised by a lawyer. Lawyers work really, really hard. At least good ones did, or my dad did. And then you've got people like, you've got lawyers who are heroes. So we're going to set that aside. Also doctors, really, really heroic. Depends on the individual because some of them are really gross too, lawyers. Okay, so back to capitalism. But if all the farmers, gardeners, trash collectors were millionaires, who would do the work that better off people don't generally do? And since not everyone can be a millionaire, well, actually, yeah, everybody could be a millionaire. It's just we've set up rules to pretend that that can't be. As it is unsustainable for our planet, multiple homes when there are homeless flying from place to place, wouldn't the moral goal be that everyone have enough and then a bit extra? I'm curious as to what your take would be. I find this confusing. Okay, so I am going to start with one of my heroes, Buckminster Fuller, the 20th century philosopher physicist, and this is one of my favorite quotes. The cat, by the way, just jumped on the table, so who knows what's going to happen. But if the cat does not knock the computer off the table or walk between me and the camera, this should go smoothly. So, in answer to your question first, Buckminster Fuller said, we should do away with the absolutely specious notion that everybody has to earn a living. It is a fact today, and he wrote this many, many, many years ago. It is a fact today that 1 in 10,000 of us can make a technological breakthrough capable of supporting all the rest. The youth of today are absolutely right in recognizing this nonsense of earning a living. We keep inventing jobs because of this false idea that everybody has to be employed at some kind of drudgery because according to Malthusian Darwinian theory, he must justify his right to exist. So we have inspectors of inspectors and people making instruments for inspectors to inspect inspectors. The true business of people should go back to school and think about whatever it was they were thinking about before somebody came along and told them they need to earn a living. I love that. I think that is so true. So In answer to your question, here are my thoughts on capitalism. Capitalism is no worse than feudalism. In some ways it's better, in some ways it's worse. It's no worse than communism. In some ways it's better, in some ways it's worse. What happens in any system, we also have never seen pure socialism except maybe in Venezuela, and even there, what happened in Venezuela under total socialism? The rulers and the government grabbed all of the resources and held on to them and made themselves rich while the rest of the country is starving. So the problem, in my opinion, is not inherently in any of the systems. The problem is that when human beings are broken and scared and insecure, they hoard. It's not about money. Money is kind of irrelevant. It's power. It is fear of mortality. It's fear of not being loved. It's fear of not being good enough. It becomes an addiction to distract ourselves from the real challenges of life. And we drug ourselves on advertisements and the thrill of purchasing to, like a junkie, to avoid the uncomfortable feelings of life. The billionaires who keep accumulating, especially those who don't use it for philanthropy but hoard and hurt, and it's never enough for them, so they need tax cuts and they need to take away Social Security for others and all these safety nets. They are broken people. Healthy, whole people don't act like that. That's why I focus on individuals, because all of those people have money monsters. And that's what the real problem is. So my only approach is individual, because I'm not knowledgeable enough, even though I have an Ivy League education and I've been taking economics classes since junior high. I don't know any system that is human proof. So I focus on how can we help, because that's all I know what to do. And that's why I like Buckminster Fuller's quote so much. Because no, it's not a money block when you have the sanity to see that we're all connected and it's not good enough, just like it wasn't good enough for the Buddha, that, oh, you got yours so you don't have to worry about others, is pathology. And by the way, we live in a culture that grows and supports and glorifies pathology. Oh, I'm not going to wear masks. Screw anybody else who gets sick. It's sociopathology. So here's what I like about capitalism. The premise is it's efficient. So let's say we have a fire in Oregon or a hurricane in Florida. Under capitalism, capital is able to pull together a lot of resources, and it does not have to be for profit. But the idea is the capital puts together all these resources to get stuff where it's needed. The problem, so I like the efficiency of it. I like the creativity of it. What I don't like is what we have currently in the United States is not capitalism, because it's not an equal playing field. The rich have tax cuts that the poor don't. I don't even really know what to call what we have, but it's I think, what is it called? There's I can't even remember what the term is for when all the money is, because there is actually a very specific economic term for when all the money is gathered into so few people. And that is not really truly capitalistic. It's a perversion of it. And it's also a weird kind of socialism that just favors the friend of the guy who's in the office now. So what is the solution? I love this vision that Bucky had, that we just stop pretending that we need to have a slave class. And this is the problem that I have with feudalism. This is the problem that I have with the socialism that I see in Venezuela, the communism that we saw in the Soviet Union, was there's always kind of the serf class, and then there are the popular kids. And that is through all the economic systems that we've seen on Earth so far on a large scale, like capitalism. There are benefits to like the Industrial Revolution. It may kill us in our lifetime because of climate change. And even then, I don't think that is a response to the marketplace when Exxon pretends and lies about climate science for decades, so that now we're, on this precipice. So I don't condemn capitalism out of hand because it can work well with regulations. Like well-regulated capitalism can be lovely. Look at Scandinavia. They will tell you that they are capitalist. But the extreme between the rich and the poor is not like it is here in the US or in Venezuela or in Brazil or in the Ukraine. So capitalism that has that freedom to innovate and self-express, wouldn't that be great if that's all we had to do was like play games and our needs were met because we have the technology to do that? I love that Buckminster Fuller said that we did not have a supply problem, we have a distribution problem. That was true in the 20th century. I think that industry leaders have seen that as a problem and they want to create scarcity. And that's what climate catastrophe does. Where we had plenty of water, now we don't. Where we had plenty of food, now we're going to have less. And I think it's intentional, and I know that can sound extreme. And maybe I'm wrong. I'm fine with that. But I suspect it could be intentional. But anyway, doesn't matter. I like the creativity that's possible when it's not coming from somebody over there making plans. When we had communism, Russia was starving every year because their central planning didn't work. But we need regulation like they have in Europe, like they have in the Scandinavian countries. And they have a different ethos there. And by the way, this is huge. This is huge. Sweden, Norway, Denmark, they're all capitalist countries. But they have very different ethics and values than the United States. I spoke in Norway in 2007, and I was sharing a client's story about how happy he was to receive a check for $100,000 and find a way to not pay taxes on it. I told that story in Norway. Big mistake. I offended the room. Because in Norway, people believe in paying their taxes. And I got taken aside very kindly by a Norwegian who explained that to me afterwards, like how wrong, how offensive my statement was. It's like, whoa, really big learning. They have quotas for hiring women. They're open about it. There's no apology about it. That there should be at least 50% because women are doing better in school. So why not hire, if they're graduating with higher grades and they're achieving more, why are they getting hired less? So there are regulations in Norway that wouldn't go over at all in the United States. The United States has a streak of kind of sociopathic selfishness that has really been cultivated more over the last 4 years than I've ever seen in my lifetime. Um, so I do think that capitalism can work with regulations, which is not anti-capitalistic at all. Um, could socialism work? I don't know. We've never really seen a purely socialistic country, except as far as I know, Venezuela. I'm not pretending to be an economist or the expert on this. And I talked to a Venezuelan about it. And again, literally, the government seized all the means of the production, seized ownership, everything, and then kept it, and people are starving. I don't think that that's a good solution. I think it's the same disease of people who can never have enough to feel safe. And when we look at the oligarchs, that's really what that is they are insecure. They know that there's a target on their back all the time. They won't even park their money in their own country because they don't want somebody to do to them what they already did. And they're frightened, and it's not abundance. It's a very fancy, impressive form of poverty too. Uh, I do believe, and I really love, Bucky's outlook that it's not a supply problem, it's a distribution problem. Could we have like enough for everybody? Totally. We could do it in a very, very, very green, sustainable way where really the only problems left to solve are artistic, and greater innovations and greater science and greater knowledge. Yeah, we could have that, but we have very frightened people who find solace in hate. This notion of giant mansions, well, we're trained to want giant mansions. Giant mansions are advertised to us every day on television. If giant mansions weren't advertised to us in TV shows and movies and popular imagination, would anybody really care? Do we have that need? I don't know. I think what we have is we have a need to be better than. We have a need to be better than our neighbor, better than our colleague, better than our competition, better than that other pretty girl, better than because we're frightened that we aren't enough. And that's the real issue. Not capitalism inherently. The real issue is human nature. Our own insecurity, our own not good enough, not lovable, not safe. That the money monster, that is the root cause. I think that if we were right with ourselves, all of us, starting with individually, then when we are happy, we are generous. When we feel safe and worthy, but mostly when we feel safe and we are happy people and we love ourselves and we feel loved, we want to help. We want to rescue the cats. We want to clean the ocean. We want to get rid of the plastic. We want to help our neighbors because that's human nature too. And I think that's the key. I think any model could work. I think I prefer capitalism only because communism and feudalism, which that is really inherently, there is no possibility of equality that way. And even socialism, but socialism and communism are saying that somebody else has to decide what we're allowed to do. And I think that maybe that just goes against my sense of the human spirit. I want you to be free to pursue the art and the message and the inspiration of your choice and have the safety and the safety net and the medical care and the food to have all that, but you get to maybe choose what you eat. And I think that there's a way in which capitalism fosters a certain creativity and innovation, and we don't want to be totally not individualistic, but we want to be this kind of, I read the word collective earlier, which is like, I am me, but I care about all of you, which is why I was going to see if my pretty mask was on the table. It's not. It's why I wear a mask and I wear pants when I leave the house, because I care about people. Um, I do think it could work if we're raised right, and I think that Scandinavian countries kind of do that better. Most of the world, or a lot of the world, does that better, and the vast inequities are an addiction, and I think are a personality disorder of and a disease. Um, I don't have a quick fix, but I do think that we could keep capitalism and not make it so unequal. I think the real issue is that human beings, in a way, want and crave inequity. I don't really know why. But, we want to be the hero more important than anybody else on some level because we're trained that way. It could be different. I want to live in Wakanda. That seemed, Wakanda forever, folks. So, yeah, that's my take on it. Um, Very, very interested in your thoughts. Open to solutions. Have a great day.